My mother died while giving birth to my baby sister. Then Dad remarried the nurse responsible for helping Mom in the delivery room. I was 8 years old when my mom went to the hospital to have my baby sister. She kissed me goodbye that morning and told me she'd be back in a few days with my new sibling. That was the last time I ever saw her alive. The doctors said there were complications during delivery. Excessive bleeding, they couldn't stop in time. My sister Emma survived, but my mom didn't make it. My dad was destroyed. He didn't get out of bed for 2 weeks after the funeral. My grandma moved in to take care of me and the baby, while Dad just existed in his room like a ghost. 6 months later, Dad started seeing someone. Her name was Rachel, and she was the labor and delivery nurse who had been in the room when my mom died. I remember the first time she came to our house for dinner. She walked in and looked around at my mom's photos on the walls with this expression I couldn't read. Not sad exactly, something else. They got married when I was 9, barely a year after Mom passed. Everyone said it was too soon, but Dad insisted Rachel had helped him through his grief. She understood what he'd been through because she'd been there. My grandma stopped coming around after the wedding. She said she couldn't watch it anymore, whatever that meant. Growing up with Rachel was strange in ways I couldn't explain. She was nice enough on the surface, always made sure we had food and clean clothes, but there were things that didn't add up, little moments that made me feel uneasy. She never talked about my mom, not once. If I brought up a memory, Rachel would change the subject immediately or suddenly need to do something in another room. She removed all of Mom's photos from the main areas of the house within the first month, said it was healthier for Dad's healing process. When Emma turned 5, she started asking about our mom. Kids at school were talking about their moms, and she wanted to know about hers. I tried to tell her stories, but Rachel would always interrupt. She'd say things like, "I'm your mom now, sweetie. That's all that matters." The way she said it made my skin crawl. I started noticing other things. Rachel kept a locked box in her closet. I found it one day when I was 12, looking for Christmas presents. It was a small metal box with a combination lock hidden under sweaters in the back corner. When I asked her about it, her face went pale and she snapped at me to stay out of her things. It was the only time she ever raised her voice at me. Dad changed after marrying Rachel too. He stopped visiting Mom's grave. He threw away the jewelry he'd kept of hers. He even changed the beneficiary on his life insurance from me and Emma to Rachel, which I only found out years later. When I was 16, I overheard a conversation that stuck with me. Dad and Rachel were arguing in their bedroom, thinking I was asleep. I heard Rachel say, "You promised you'd never bring that up again." We agreed. Dad's voice was shaky when he responded, "I know, but sometimes I think about the timing of everything, and Rachel cut him off. "The timing was a tragedy, nothing more. Drop it." I started doing research on my mom's death. I requested her medical records when I turned 18, which took months of paperwork. The cause of death was listed as postpartum hemorrhage, which matched what we'd been told. But there was a note in the file that mentioned the attending physician had concerns about the delay in calling for additional surgical support. The note was vague, almost like someone had edited it. I tracked down the doctor who delivered Emma. He'd retired and moved to Florida, but I found his number through some digging. When I called and explained who I was, there was a long pause. He said he couldn't discuss specific cases, but then added something strange. He said, "Some tragedies are preventable. I hope you find the answers you're looking for." Then he hung up. Last month, I visited my grandma for the first time in years. She was living in a nursing home now, her memory fading in and out. But when I mentioned Rachel's name, her eyes went sharp and clear. She grabbed my wrist hard and said, "That woman was in his life before your mother died. I saw them together, 3 months before Emma was born." My blood went cold. I asked what she meant, but she was already drifting again, mumbling about needing to tell someone the truth before it was too late. Yesterday, I went back to my childhood home while Dad and Rachel were at work. I found the locked box in the same spot it had always been. I'd learned how to pick simple locks years ago, never knowing why I'd bothered until now. Inside was a stack of letters, a hospital ID badge, and a single photograph. The letters were love letters between Rachel and my dad, dated from before my mother died. The photo showed them together at what looked like a restaurant, Rachel's hand on my dad's cheek, both of them smiling. But it was the date written on the back of the photo that made me drop everything, because my mom was still alive when that picture was taken. And what I found underneath those letters made me realize my mother's death might not have been a complication at all. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I stare at the document in my hands, my fingers trembling so badly that the paper rustles like autumn leaves. Beneath the love letters and the damning photograph, I'd found a hospital incident report, not just any report, one that had never been officially filed. The letterhead shows Memorial Hospital, dated the same day my mother died. The handwriting is unmistakably Rachel's. I recognize the looping cursive from birthday cards and grocery lists over the years. But this isn't a shopping list, it's a confession written in clinical language. Code blue response delayed by approximately 7 minutes due to incorrect room number provided to emergency team. I read the line 3 times, my heart pounding against my ribs. Rachel had been the one to call the code. Rachel had sent the emergency team to the wrong floor while my mother bled out. Below this, in smaller writing, patient exhibited signs of hemorrhage at 14:22. Emergency surgical team notified at 14:29. 7 minutes. 7 minutes that could have saved my mother's life. My hands shake harder as I pull out another document, a printed email with Rachel's nursing supervisor credentials. The date on the email is 2 weeks before my mother died. But Rachel had always told us she was just a regular labor and delivery nurse. Why would she lie about her position? I dig deeper into the box, finding a small velvet jewelry case tucked into the corner. Inside is a receipt for a diamond bracelet from Tiffany's, purchased by my father. The date on the receipt is 3 days before my mother went into labor. 3 days before she died. The pieces click together in my mind like a grotesque puzzle. Dad and Rachel were having an affair while my mom was pregnant with with Emma. Rachel had access and authority in the delivery room, and when my mom started hemorrhaging, Rachel deliberately delayed help. I sink to the floor of my childhood bedroom, the evidence scattered around me. My mother didn't die from unavoidable complications. She was murdered by the woman who took her place, the woman who's been raising her children. Under the receipt, I find a folded piece of paper, a page torn from what looks like a personal journal. Rachel's handwriting again, but this time more hurried, emotional. If she dies, we can be together. He said he loves me more, but he won't leave her while she's pregnant. The baby isn't the problem, she is. I have access to the emergency protocols. Nobody would question a few minutes delay during a crisis. Sometimes women don't survive childbirth. It happens. I clamp my hand over my mouth to stop from screaming. This isn't just evidence of negligence, it's premeditation. Rachel planned to let my mother die. And my father, did he know? Was he complicit? I think back to that argument I overheard when I was 16. Dad saying he sometimes thought about the timing, Rachel cutting him off, saying it was a tragedy, nothing more. Did he suspect something wasn't right about my mother's death? I need to talk to Emma. She deserves to know the truth about the woman who's been pretending to be our mother, but I need more evidence first. Something concrete that can't be explained away. With shaking hands, I take photos of everything with my phone. I carefully return the items to the box in the exact order I found them, making sure nothing looks disturbed. Rachel is meticulous. She'd notice if something was out of place. As I lock the box and return it to its hiding place, I hear the garage door opening downstairs. Someone's home early. I freeze, listening to footsteps entering the house. The familiar sound of Rachel's heels clicking against the hardwood floor sends a chill down my spine. I slip out of their bedroom and into the hallway bathroom, splashing cold water on my face to hide any sign that I've been crying. In the mirror, I barely recognize myself. My face is pale, eyes wide with shock and horror. The woman who raised me, who tucked me in at night and made my school lunches, deliberately killed my mother. And my father, who I've trusted my entire life, might have known about it. I dry my face and practice a neutral expression. I need time to process everything I've discovered and figure out my next move. I need to protect Emma. I need to get justice for my mom. As I walk downstairs, Rachel looks up from where she's sorting mail in the kitchen. She smiles at me, the same smile I've seen thousands of times before, but now all I can see is the calculated deception behind it. "You're home early," she says casually. "Just stopped by to pick up some old photos for a project." I lie, matching her casual tone. "I found some of Mom in the attic." Her smile falters for just a second, so brief I would have missed it if I wasn't watching for it. "Oh, anything interesting?" "Just some baby pictures of me and Emma," I say, patting the backpack where I've stashed a few old albums I actually did take from the attic. "Thought it might be nice to make copies." Rachel nods, her composure perfect again. "That's thoughtful of you. Will you stay for dinner? Your dad's bringing home takeout." The thought of sitting across the table from them, pretending everything is normal, makes me physically ill, but I can't let her know what I've discovered. "Not yet. Sorry, I've got plans with friends," I say. "Rain check?" As I walk out the door, I feel her eyes on my back. For 16 years, I've lived with the woman who murdered my mother. Now I need to prove it not just for me and Emma, but for my mom, who never got to see her daughters grow up. Tomorrow, I'll call that doctor in Florida again. This time, I'll tell him exactly what I found, and I won't stop until Rachel pays for what she did. I book a flight to Florida the next morning. The retired doctor, Dr. Jameson, according to the medical records, lives in a gated community in Naples. I've spent my entire savings on this last-minute trip, but I don't care. Finding the truth is worth more than money. The entire flight, I keep thinking about what I found in Rachel's box. The deliberately delayed emergency response, the affair with my father, the premeditated plan to let my mother die. My hands shake as I grip the armrests during landing. Dr. Jameson agreed to meet me only after I mentioned finding the incident report. His voice changed when I described the document tension replacing his initial reluctance. "Some things are better discussed in person," he said. His home is modest but well kept, with a small garden of tropical plants surrounding the entrance. He's older than I expected, late 70s at least, with thin white hair and deeply lined skin from years in the Florida sun. "You look like her," he says quietly after inviting me in. "Your mother. Same eyes." I sit in his living room, surrounded by medical textbooks and family photos. I found evidence that Rachel deliberately delayed help when my mom started hemorrhaging. I tell him, showing him photos of the documents on my phone. He nods slowly, unsurprised. I suspected something wasn't right that day. The timing was off. "What do you mean?" Dr. Jameson removes his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Your mother's hemorrhage should have been manageable. We had protocols in place, but everything went wrong in ways that didn't make sense." He walks to a filing cabinet and pulls out a folder. I kept my own records. Couldn't prove anything, but I knew. He hands me several pages of notes. "Rachel wasn't just a delivery nurse. She had access to the medication cabinet, and your mother's medication levels were wrong." My heart pounds as I read his notes. "She switched the medications, replaced the oxytocin with saline, then administered a blood thinner when your mother started bleeding, claiming it was the standard medication to stop hemorrhage." He shakes his head. "Complete opposite of what should have been given. By the time I realized what happened, it was too late." "Why didn't you report this?" My voice rises with anger. "I tried." His eyes look haunted. "Filed a report with hospital administration, but Rachel had friends in management. The report disappeared, and 2 weeks later, I was offered early retirement with a generous package." He laughs bitterly, more like a bribe to stay quiet. I feel sick. "So she not only delayed help, she actively made my mother's condition worse?" "Deliberately," he nods. "And she was the one who called the code blue to the wrong floor. 7 minutes that would have made the difference." I leave Dr. Jameson's house with copies of his notes and a recommendation for a medical investigator who specializes in malpractice cases. My next task is finding the other nurses who were were there that day. Through social media, I locate 3 of them. One has moved to California, another to Texas, but the third, Melissa Winters, still lives an hour from my parents' house. She agrees to meet at a coffee shop halfway between us. Melissa is nervous when I arrive, constantly checking her phone and glancing toward the door. I shouldn't be talking to you, she says immediately. I signed an NDA after what happened. Please, I say. Melissa's resolve crumbles. I felt guilty for years. Rachel was my supervisor. I couldn't contradict her. But I saw her direct the emergency team to the 5th floor when your mom was on the 3rd. You saw her deliberately send them to the wrong place? She nods, voice dropping to a whisper. When I asked her about it later, she said it was a simple mistake. But I saw her checking her watch while we waited for help that wasn't coming. Melissa's eyes fill with tears. I should have done something, but I was new. I was afraid of losing my job. I reach across the table and squeeze her hand. It wasn't your fault. Rachel planned this. Before leaving, Melissa gives me contact information for the other nurses, along with the name of the hospital administrator who helped bury Dr. Jameson's report. He retired last year. Might be more willing to talk now. Back at my apartment, I organize everything I've gathered. Dr. Jameson's notes, Melissa's statement, the incident report, the love letters, the diary page. But I need more, something that proves beyond doubt that Rachel deliberately killed my mother. I remember Rachel mentioning a storage unit where she keeps personal mementos from before she married Dad. The key is on her keyring, which she always leaves in her purse by the door when she gets home. The next day, while Rachel is at work and Dad is at a business lunch, I let myself into their house and find the key. The storage unit number is written on the tag, 247. The facility is only 10 minutes away. My heart pounds as I unlock the unit and pull up the rolling door. Inside are boxes neatly labeled by year. I find the one marked 2005 to 2006, the years leading up to my mother's death. Inside is a leather-bound diary, Rachel's journal from that time. My hands tremble as I flip through it, landing on entries from 3 months before Emma was born. Met with Jay again today. He says he loves me, but he won't leave his pregnant wife. Says it would look bad, that we need to wait until after the baby is born. I don't know if I can wait that long. Every day I see her at the hospital for her checkups, with her perfect little family. Not knowing her husband comes to my bed at night. It's torture. I flip forward, finding an entry from 2 weeks before my mother died. Jay gave me a diamond bracelet today. Said someday soon we can be together openly. I know what needs to happen. As her delivery nurse, I'll have opportunities. No one questions when things go wrong during childbirth. Women still die from complications. It will look like a tragedy, nothing more. The diary details their 8-month affair, starting when my mother was just 6 months pregnant with Emma. It contains explicit descriptions of their meetings, Rachel's growing obsession, and eventually, her plan to eliminate my mother. I take photos of every page, my hands shaking so badly I have to steady them against the box. This is it, the evidence I need. Rachel didn't just take advantage of a medical emergency, she created one. As I carefully return everything to its place, I notice a small envelope taped to the back cover of the diary. Inside is a SIM card from an old phone. I pocket it, knowing it might contain even more evidence. On the drive home, I can barely focus on the road. My mother was murdered, deliberately. And my father, how much did he know? Was he just having an affair? Or was he complicit in her death? I need to tell Emma. She deserves to know who Rachel really is. But first, I need to be absolutely certain of every detail. No loose ends. No room for denial. Rachel has taken enough from us already. She won't take the truth too. I wake up at 6 a.m., my mind racing with everything I've uncovered. The SIM card from Rachel's storage unit is burning a hole in my pocket. I need to see what's on it. But first, I need to talk to Emma. She deserves to know the truth about the woman who's been raising us. Dad and Rachel are going to a medical conference this weekend, one of those couples retreats disguised as professional development. It's the perfect opportunity to get Emma alone. I text her to pack an overnight bag, telling her I'm taking her for a surprise sister weekend. When I pull up to the house, Emma bounds out the front door, her backpack slung over one shoulder. At 16, she looks so much like our mother, it makes my heart ache. Rachel follows behind her, all smiles and fake warmth. What a sweet idea, Rachel says, resting her hand on Emma's shoulder. You two haven't had sister time in ages. I force a smile, wondering how I ever found this woman's touch comforting. We're overdue. Rachel leans in to hug me, and it takes everything in me not to recoil. Have fun, girls, she says, her voice honeyed with false affection. We'll see you Sunday evening. As we drive away, I watch Rachel in my rearview mirror. She stands in the driveway until we turn the corner, that perfect smile never faltering. So, what's the real reason for this impromptu weekend? Emma asks, eyebrow raised. You've been acting weird for weeks. I grip the steering wheel tighter. We're going to see Grandma first. Emma's face falls. At the nursing home? I thought this was supposed to be fun. It's important, Em. There's something I need to talk to you about, but I want Grandma there too. The drive to the nursing home is quiet. Emma scrolling through her phone while I rehearse in my head how to tell my sister that the woman who's raised her since birth murdered our mother to take her place. Grandma is having a good day. Her eyes light up when she sees us, and she remembers both our names without prompting. We sit in the small garden behind the facility, away from other residents and staff. I found something, Grandma, I say, pulling out my phone to show her the photos of Rachel's journal and the medical documents. About Mom's death, about Rachel. Grandma's hands shake as she looks at the evidence. I knew it, she whispers. I always knew something wasn't right. Emma looks between us, confused. What are you talking about? I take a deep breath. Rachel was having an affair with Dad before Mom died, and I have proof that she deliberately caused Mom's death during childbirth. Emma's face drains of color. What? No, that's not possible. I show her everything, the incident report, Dr. Jameson's notes, Melissa's statement, and the most damning of all, Rachel's own words in her journal detailing her plan to eliminate our mother. She switched Mom's medication medication and sent the emergency team to the wrong floor, I explained gently. She watched Mom bleed out while checking her watch. Emma's hands cover her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Dad wouldn't. He couldn't have known about this. I don't know how much Dad knew, I admit, but he was definitely having an affair with Rachel before Mom died. Grandma reaches for Emma's hand. There's something else you should know, she says, her voice stronger than I've heard in years. The day before your mother went into labor, she called me crying. She'd found messages on your father's phone between him and Rachel. She was going to confront him after you were born, so Rachel knew Mom was about to expose them, I whisper. Grandma nods. I told the police after your mother died, but they said there was no evidence of foul play, just a tragic complication of childbirth. Emma stands suddenly, pacing the small garden path. I need to see Dad. I need to hear what he has to say. We will, I promise. But first, there's one more piece of evidence we need to check. Back at my apartment, I connect the SIM card to an old phone. It powers up, revealing dozens of text messages between Rachel and my father from the weeks leading up to my mother's death. The messages are explicit, discussing their affair and future plans together. But most damning is a message from my father the day before Mom went into labor. She knows about us, found the messages, says she's confronting me after the baby comes. Rachel's response makes my blood run cold. Don't worry, she won't get the chance. Trust me, tomorrow everything changes. Emma reads the messages over my shoulder, her body trembling. He knew, she whispers. He had to know what she was planning. I compile everything into a single file. The medical evidence, the witness statements, the journal entries, and the text messages. It's time to confront Dad, I say. We drive to our childhood home in silence, both lost in our own thoughts. Dad's car is in the driveway, but Rachel's isn't. She must have left for an errand. Dad looks surprised to see us when he opens the door. I thought you two were having a sister weekend. We need to talk, Dad, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. About Mom, about Rachel. His face changes immediately, a flash of fear crossing his features before he composes himself. What about them? We sit at the kitchen table, the same table where we've shared family meals for years, where Rachel has presided as our stepmother, all while knowing she murdered our real mother. I slide the file across to him. I know what happened the day Mom died. Dad's hands shake as he opens the folder, his face growing paler with each document he reviews. When he reaches the text messages, he closes his eyes. Did you know what she was planning to do? I ask, my voice breaking despite my efforts to stay calm. No, he whispers, looking up with tears in his eyes. I swear to you, I didn't know she would hurt your mother, but you were having an affair with her, Emma says, her voice sharp with accusation. While Mom was pregnant with me. Dad nods, shame evident in every line of his face. Yes, it was the biggest mistake of my life, but I never wanted Sarah to die. Then why did you marry her killer? I demand. Why bring her into our home to raise us? Because I didn't know, he insists, desperation in his voice. Not until years later. Rachel told me it was a terrible accident, that she tried everything to save Sarah. When did you find out the truth? Emma asks. Dad's shoulders slump. 2 years ago. I found her old journal when we were packing for a move. I confronted her, and she admitted everything. My heart nearly stops. You've known for 2 years that Rachel murdered Mom and you did nothing? She threatened to hurt you girls if I went to the police, he says, his voice barely audible. Said she'd claim I was complicit, that we planned it together. No one would believe me after all these years. I was trying to protect you. The sound of a car door slamming outside freezes us all. Footsteps approach the front door. She wasn't supposed to be back until tonight, Dad whispers, panic in his eyes. The door opens, and Rachel walks in, carrying shopping bags. She stops when she sees us at the kitchen table, her eyes immediately falling on the open folder. What's going on? She asks, her voice controlled but her eyes darting between us. Dad stands slowly. They know Rachel. They know everything. Rachel's face transforms, the mask of maternal concern dropping away to reveal something cold and calculating. She sets down her bags and reaches into her purse, pulling out her phone. I have a feeling this conversation is about to get very interesting, she says, her voice eerily calm as she holds up the device. Especially since I've been recording your father's confession for the last 5 minutes. Rachel's phone glints in her hand like a weapon. The recording. My heart pounds as I realize what she's doing, creating leverage, manufacturing her own twisted insurance policy. For 16 years, I've lived with this woman, never knowing what she was capable of. Now I see it clearly in her cold, calculating eyes. Turn that off, Dad says, stepping toward her. I don't think so, Rachel replies, backing toward the door. One call to the police with this recording, and you'll be charged as an accessory. Who do you think they'll believe? The grieving widow who discovered her husband's terrible secret, or the man who married his mistress right after his wife died? Emma lunges forward suddenly, catching all of us by surprise. She grabs Rachel's phone and hurls it across the room. It hits the wall with a crack, the screen shattering. You killed our mother, Emma screams, tears streaming down her face. You watched her die. Rachel's mask slips completely, her face contorting with rage. She slaps Emma hard across the face, sending her stumbling backward. You ungrateful little bitch, she hisses. I've raised you since birth. I changed your diapers, nursed your fevers, helped with your homework. I've been more of a mother to you than she ever would have been. I step between them, shielding Emma. Don't touch her again. Rachel laughs, a brittle sound that raises the hair on my arms. What are you going to do? Go to the police? It's been 16 years. No one will believe you. They already do. We all turn toward the front door. 2 police officers stand there, along with a woman in a dark suit who holds up a badge. Rachel Coleman, the woman says, I'm Detective Morales with the county prosecutor's office. We'd like you to come with us for questioning regarding the death of Sarah Coleman. Rachel's face drains of color. This is ridiculous. You can't possibly. We have statements from Dr. Jameson and Nurse Winters, Detective Morales continues, and a very interesting SIM card that was turned over to us this morning containing text messages between you and James Coleman from 16 16 years ago. My heart skips a beat. I didn't turn in the SIM card. Then I realize Grandma must have called the police after we left the nursing home. The detective catches my eye and gives me a slight nod, confirming my suspicion. You have no proof, Rachel says, but her voice wavers. It was a medical emergency. Complications happen during childbirth. Complications don't typically involve deliberately switching medications and sending emergency teams to the wrong floor. Detective Morales replies, your nursing supervisor credentials were used to override medication protocols that day. We have the digital footprint. One of the officers steps forward with handcuffs. Rachel Coleman, you're under arrest for the murder of Sarah Coleman. You have the right to remain silent. As they read Rachel her rights, I watched 16 years of deception crumble from her face. She looks smaller somehow, diminished without her carefully constructed facade. Dad stands frozen, watching as they lead Rachel away. When the front door closes, he collapses into a chair, burying his face in his hands. I'm so sorry, he sobs. I should have known. I should have protected you both. Emma turns away from him, her body rigid with anger. You knew for 2 years and did nothing. The detective will want to speak with you too, I tell him quietly. You withheld evidence of a murder. He nods, resignation in every line of his body. I know. The next few weeks pass in a blur of police interviews, legal consultations, and media attention. Rachel is charged with second-degree murder and criminal negligence resulting in death. Dad is charged as an accessory after the fact for concealing evidence once he discovered the truth. Grandma's health seems to improve with each passing day, as if bringing Rachel to justice has given her new strength. The nursing home staff say they've never seen such a dramatic turnaround in someone her age. I'm taking you girls home, she tells us one afternoon, her voice stronger than I've heard in years. That house was never Rachel's. It was your mother's, and it should be yours. The prosecutor offers Dad a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Rachel. 5 years with possibility of parole after 3. He takes it without hesitation, telling his lawyer he deserves worse. Emma and I move in with Grandma, returning to the home where we grew up, but this time without the shadow of Rachel's presence. We pack up her things and donate them to charity. We find Mom's photos in boxes in the attic and hang them throughout the house again. In Rachel's closet, I find the metal box one last time. Inside, beneath where the incriminating documents had been, is a small envelope I hadn't noticed before. It contains a lock of dark hair, my mother's, and a hospital bracelet from the day she died. Trophies, kept as sick mementos of her crime. I turn everything over to the detective, who adds it to the mounting evidence against Rachel. Her trial is scheduled for spring, almost 17 years to the day after my mother died. Will you testify? Emma asks me one night as we sit on the porch swing, watching fireflies dance in the yard. Yes, I tell her, for Mom. She leans her head on my shoulder. Do you think she knows that we found out the truth? I look up at the stars, remembering how Mom used to tell me that people we love become stars when they die, so they can always watch over us. I think she does, I say softly. I think she's been waiting for us to find it. 10 years later, Emma and I stand before Mom's grave, fresh flowers in our hands. The marble headstone gleams in the morning sunlight, recently cleaned for the anniversary of her death. Hey Mom, Emma says, placing her bouquet against the stone. I graduated medical school last week, top of my class, just like I promised. I smile, setting my own flowers beside hers, and I'm getting married next month. You would have loved him. So much has changed in the decade since Rachel's conviction. She's serving a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Dad was released after serving 4 years, but we've had little contact with him since. Some wounds are too deep to heal completely. Grandma lived long enough to see Rachel convicted and Dad sentenced. She passed peacefully in her sleep 3 years ago, having fulfilled her promise to see justice done for her daughter. Emma kneels and traces our mother's name on the headstone. Sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if she'd lived, she says quietly. Me too, I admit, but I think she'd be proud of us, of what we've become despite everything. We stay until the sun begins to set, talking to Mom about our lives, our hopes, our futures. As we walk back to the car, arm in arm, I feel a weight lifting, not completely gone, but lighter than before. The truth didn't bring our mother back. It couldn't erase the years of living with her killer or heal all the damage that Rachel caused, but it gave us something precious. The knowledge that our mother didn't just die from a medical complication. She was loved and mourned and finally avenged. And in that justice, Emma and I found a way to move forward, carrying our mother's memory not as a painful absence, but as a guiding presence in our lives.